Hey everybody, this is the Say Report. This is Sejohn Sarwick on the Say Report, along with my other host, Devin Decker.
Other host Devon Decker here.
Other host. So what's going on, everybody? It has been a monotonous week for me. I don't know about you, Devin. Has anything been going on for you?
I've been on vacation, so I mean it's been monotonous, but it's been the good kind of monotonous.
Oh no, I've just been. Well, here's the deal. I started a new job this week,
You started.
and
We don't have a soundboard, folks.
no. This is all us. Yeah, I started a new job this week, so I've been kind of getting into the groove of that, and it is an interesting position. I have
That makes
gone
it
to
sound like you're
school.
doing porn, CJ.
Well, I've been going to school for over 10 years now for theater. I've been working my ass off as a CV that's a good size. I'm not gonna, I mean, don't want to
we use
brag.
CV to talk about our resumes because one of our best friends is English.
But so I decided to go out and get a job, and I am currently slinging clothes to little old ladies at the mall. That's what I'm doing.
So what, you working with the dress barn, maybe?
I mean, it's essentially that. It's a Sears type store, Elder Beerman, for anybody on this side of the country that is looking for it. We're one of Bonton's 7 nameplates. I've learned all of this week in my training.
Oh,
Um,
buddy.
yeah, living the glorious life, man, living the high life. Um, but it's a job, man, and it's got some. If I could get good at this, I could make some serious cash. So there's a little piece of me that's just like, oh, you should sell out, man. You
And
should
if
buy
and
into.
if there's anybody who loves you more than me, it's little old ladies who need
Yeah.
clothes.
Well, and that's the secret, man, is you just have to be able to talk to a couple of, some blue hairs and just kind of get them sold on a couple of outfits and maybe once a week pitch one of them a credit card. And then you're golden. Like people love you. It's amazing. I won't say it's the easiest job I've ever had, but at the same time, it's all playing to my strengths.
You know,
So,
it's funny you say easiest job you've ever had because
mhm.
I'll break up some monotony in your life with a trip down memory lane. Because I
Oh,
always like taking a trip down memory lane with you. Work with me here, Sejan. Is the easiest job that you've ever had being an audio technician assistant at the audiology conference in Providence, Rhode Island?
that might possibly be the easiest job I've ever had. Yes, Devin, because I don't think we did much except sit around and read comic books for 3 days.
We
What was
also
it?
we read comics. We watched all of Clone High, which is the real trip down memory lane for me because
Mm.
outside storms are brewing, and and but the one thing that we did is they had all those ThinkPads. I don't know if you remember. None
Yeah,
of them
and
had Adobe Acrobat installed
everybody showed up. Everybody showed up hoping to do their presentations, and everybody needed Acrobat for some reason or another.
because
And
PDFs are the industry standard. Come to find out, right? You've gone to school for 18 years.
yeah, so nobody could print anything, nobody could show anything. People were very upset, and we spent maybe 5 hours going through, oh God knows how many laptops. Just install, pass, install, pass. Is that one still installing? Good. Is
Yeah,
that one
that's
still
good, right?
installing?
That's good. Install, okay? Because we all had
Is
to
that
do
one
it. We
still
had to do it
installing?
over
No.
a hotel Wi-Fi network.
Yeah. The entire thing was over a shared network. It was crazy. But that was 3 hours of a whole weekend, and then after that, we were like, "What's next? What's next?" And they were like, "I don't know, just take a seat for a bit,"
Be
and
well.
we never got up.
I think, and honestly, I feel like that, like, just sit there and look pretty was really, you guys saved our asses, but you also made us look real bad.
And they never asked us back. I wonder why.
That's true, right? I feel like we set
Yeah,
up a ballroom once for like those guys again, but that's
yeah,
all
that's
that I
true.
recall,
I
right?
don't think I don't think I don't think it was the same guys though. I think that
No,
was a
it
different
was
group
it was
of.
the same venue, different
Yeah.
different house, but they never asked us back either. But yeah, that's a memory lane moment that I like because it goes back to Clone High, and as I said, storms are brewing. But there's also another one. Like I said, I've been on vacation, and what I did with my, I guess, summer vacation, right? Because I went away and it was almost summer.
Yeah.
I caught up on a lot of movies that I haven't seen, but I
All
also
right.
caught up on a lot of movies that I have seen. And one that I watched 3 times because it was on the hotel television system was Hairspray.
Oh, okay.
And I
Sorry, 60. I mean, sorry, not 60.
2007, the same
Okay.
summer, you'll remember, that we worked at that audiology conference.
Yes. Oh man, and everybody lost their minds. Hairspray came out, and collectively, families and friends alike were all about that movie.
Right,
So,
and so it's a fantastic one, and it's to watch again. Like, I don't want to see like one of those people who like clickbait title Hairspray is the perfect movie for Trump's America, but Hairspray is kind of the perfect movie for Trump's America.
Oh, really? All right, BuzzFeed, what do you got?
Well, like, no, you just think about it. Like it's all about oppression and minorities, and everybody is like fit to burst. But like by coming together with their shared interests, they're able to break down the oppression of 1961 Baltimore
Without it resorting to terrible violence or anything,
or anything
right?
like that. They just use dance and like shared. I mean, Tracy Turnblatt did savagely beat an Eagle Scout, but. No, she just used like a protest sign and she tapped a cop on the head because he wasn't giving her time. And it's like, but like as I watched that movie, I'm just like, oh wow, it's weird how like this movie that I mean, when John Waters made it, it was also about racial issues, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like,
When he made it earlier, I'm gotta pull the year up on it because I keep wanting to say 67 and that's not
maybe. Right. Ricky Lake was there.
Hairspray, Ricky Lake. Yep. Yeah, man.
Oh, so when he made that, it was also about that. It's not like Broadway got their hooks in Hairspray and turned it into this story about race relations.
Yeah.
In like,
88, by the way. 88 for anybody keeping score.
I feel close, right? 89, I feel good.
Yeah.
So like it's a movie that they made about that, and then of course like that's the kind of stuff that Broadway loves. So then they add these songs, and I don't know, like it's just like this perfect movie about like if we all come together, we can overcome in like a lot of weird ways. And granted, it's a movie, it's a made up story, it's fiction, but I think it's something that we do have to remember in these trying times. Like, you know what? I had a little notebook and I wrote down, like, don't bring this up, right? But I have to bring it up because I watched it 3 times and all I thought each time was, like, our world is fucked right now. It's a lot like their world back then in 61. And, like, really what we need to do is we can't get discouraged. The people who know what's right are doing what they can, but we also can't sink to their level, which is the real issue. I mean, you've talked about it before on the show. Like, if we're just as nasty as the nasty people, we become the monsters. And that's not good for anybody.
With that, let's put a list out there of people I want to punch. No.
Yeah, we're also going to start selling the Say Report on negativity, because apparently on the internet, negativity sells, and we're just too gosh darn positive.
I mean, yeah, if there's one thing that all this Alex Jones nonsense has taught me is that we're way too positive on this show. That's why we don't have our audience building yet. We got to get out there and then piss some people off.
Yeah, right. So that's why I say Hairspray is a good movie. But also from Hairspray, I'm like, all these thoughts in my mind because of Hairspray. First of all, if you want your musical adaptation of a Broadway show to be good, you should probably get Queen Latifah in there.
Yeah,
because
man.
my 2 favorites are probably Chicago and Hairspray. And she's in both. Let's just think about it for a second.
Yeah. I mean, well, she is the queen for a reason, man. Like,
she is the queen for a reason. Like people were talking about, like, why would she do a duet with Tony Bennett on that, like, weird Tony Bennett album that she was a part of? And it's like, because she was just in Chicago the same year that came out.
Right.
Oh, that also, I have a question for you to ask, but I'll get there. I have a lot of ideas in my head. But that's the thing. Hairspray is a great film. Watch it again. Think about this and just see, like, again, it's a movie, so positive attitudes don't always win, but it's a lot easier to fight a battle if you're being positive while you're in the mind space than if you're being negative. Because negativity it just begets negativity.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned, how that message was there from the beginning even when John Waters made it back in the day, because I've actually met John Waters.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was privileged enough to sit at a conference and listen to him give a talk, and then afterwards, people were allowed to go up and meet him, and I got to talk to him for all of 5 minutes, if that, about just like thank you for everything that you've inspired me to do.
So if you only have 5 minutes with John Waters, I'm sure you bring up Crybaby.
Yeah, Crybaby was actually one that he had already brought up in the talk. What I actually talked to him about was Cecil B. Demented. Because when I was like 14 or 15 years old, like 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning on Comedy Central, it came on once, and I had no idea what I was watching, but it was insane and hilarious and dark, and it was all the things that, like, at the time I was starting to really develop a taste for. And I realized, like, and for anybody that doesn't know, Cecil B. Demented is this movie about making movies and about how far artists they're willing to go to put like, you know, their heart on screen. And you know, in the true John Waters fashion, he takes it to a satirical level where like obviously at some point they start like murdering people, and it's all fun and it's crazy. So I just talked to him about that for a moment. But, you know, a whole big part of what his talk, and this was in Baltimore, actually, when he was speaking, was about how all of his movies are just love letters to that city. And about his time
without
there.
question. Like,
Right.
I think that's my favorite part about Hairspray as a musical is that Good Morning Baltimore song. Because it's like,
Yeah.
I've been to Baltimore, and I've been to the worst parts of Baltimore. I'm not ashamed to say it. Like, if I go to a city, I'm an explorer. I'm going everywhere. I don't care that the street signs have turned red. I don't. So, like, I've been to that area, and it is a beautiful city. And, of course, if you're from there, you're going to have pride. And name another movie that takes place in Baltimore that John Waters was not involved in.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, they're out there, but like they don't spring to mind, right? Like that's not what stands out about them. But when John Waters makes it, like it stands out. Like Baltimore, especially in Hairspray, stands out. And you know, and a lot of what you're talking about with that idea of positivity, you know, being the true message of the whole thing was a lot of what he spoke of is the idea behind Hairspray specifically is just like the idea that all of these problems that are out there right now, you know, violence is an answer, but it's not the only one, you know, and it was a really inspiring talk at the time, and it's really funny that you brought it up yet again today, because that was before Trump was president. That was before we were in the middle of a bunch of other world issues that are on, you know, like this was a long time ago when I got to hear him talk, a long time ago, like a year or two ago. But but you know, like this was at a time when like we weren't sure what the future was going to be, and now that we're a little bit more sure, things actually look worse than they did. But even still, like I think his words ring true. Yeah, John Waters, cool dude, and you should totally check out all of this, you know, his movies,
watch his
but also
filmography. He's a good director.
He's got some great interviews. He's got a one-man show that's a little weird because it's not quite stand-up comedy, but being him, there's obviously a lot of comedy to it. It's interesting.
Wow.
Good dude, though.
Great. I love it. I was also just going to talk about how we saw Hairspray with I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry.
That is true, which is an interesting double feature considering some of the messaging in each.
Yeah, right? But honestly, the one thing that always sticks with me, and you know what? Like, I will 100% admit that, like, it might just be the fog of memory that makes me believe that we saw those two movies the same day. Because, like, as far as I'm concerned, those two happened the same day. But Dale says otherwise because she was with us for it. But
which one, Hairspray or Chuck and Larry?
She says, I was there for Hairspray, and I don't believe I saw Chuck and Larry. And
she could have very...
I'm pretty sure we saw them together. And she's like, I think we saw Hairspray with Stardust. And I'm like, shut up, you're ruining the memory. And it's a beautiful memory.
Hairspray and Stardust is a much better double feature, I have to say.
Oh, yeah, because it's Michelle Pfeiffer's Renaissance.
Yeah. Oh, man, just watched Batman Returns last night, speaking of Michelle Pfeiffer. Anyway, okay.
25 years, Batman Returns. But, yeah, like... But I just remember watching those two movies, and the weird thing that is ingrained in my memory is that John Travolta and Christopher Walken, as the Turnblatts, do not ever kiss. They never share a kiss. But then in I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry, Adam Sandler and Kevin James do. And I'm like, you know, of these two movies, I was pretty sure I was going to see two dudes kiss. Not the one I would have put money on.
Not the one you thought. Yeah. Man, I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry. Whew.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember where in the Adam Sandler filmography that was, like, how far into me not liking him anymore was that, because you know I had
Punch
that
Drunk
same.
Love was 2002, right? And you like Punch Drunk Love, right?
Yeah. Okay.
How do you feel about 50 First Dates?
Oh, enjoyed 50 First Dates.
All
It was
right,
him
cool.
coming back to Drew Barrymore, right?
50
Like
First
that
Dates,
whole.
That's 2004. So like, it's 3 years from 50 First Dates. So like, Spanglish is in there, right?
Yeah. No.
That's one of those movies.
Spanglish is one of those weird ones where it's an Adam Sandler movie, but he was trying to make it, I don't know, like more, like more like romantic than comedy, but it doesn't
All
work out.
I know is that Tia Leone is there, and I love Tia Leone. You know what? Honestly, like looking at this timeline, and again, it's all a mental timeline. I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry may have been the first movie.
Yeah, I'm thinking
that
that
you
that might be the case
disliked.
because Spanglish is one of those ones that like that you see and it's you don't like it, but it's not because of its Adam Sandleriness. I don't like that movie because I just don't think it's a good movie. Not because man, this is Adam Sandler doing that shtick I hate. Chuck and Larry might be that moment where you're watching it and you're just like, oh, this is getting old,
Yeah,
and then
it's
the likes of like Mike Myers bow out at that point. Well, I say that and then they come back and make Love Guru, but anyway, so
right. But then you also have like that's when like Dan Aykroyd started showing up in his movies all the time, and like it really is. It's a weird movie, and like I just feel like I went on vacation all last week, but it really felt more like a trip back to 2007, just with
oh
like the movies and all that. And I was playing Portrait of
yeah, the time
Ruin.
machine you got in. 'Cause,
Yeah,
I
the
mean that
time
was
machine, right?
also
Also, I mean, the ship I was on, I took a cruise. I was on the Holland America Vietnam. It
ooh.
felt like I was in the past.
Jesus, I was gonna say, what the hell was it? Was it like one of those big ass sail ships where there's slaves down in the quarters? Like, what were you doing?
No, 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 no. I mean, there were slaves down in the corners because working on a cruise ship, you're basically a slave.
Oof,
And
man.
I get to say that because I did it. So, and this ship was totally like a training ship too. Like a lot of these people had probably never been away from home before. So yeah, it's an interesting choice of where there's slaves down below on the part of Sejohn Sarowick tonight. But literally, Sejohn, there was a DVD player in our room, and for
Oh,
entertainment, you could rent DVDs from the front desk.
okay.
When's the last time you went to a hotel that had a DVD collection and a DVD player?
Oh man, 1999, 2000, when they were like, look at these fancy new things we have, and then they all got stolen the next year.
Whenever whenever the next Karate Kid came out, so it was like what 98, because it had
Man,
just come out on DVD, and we watched it in a hotel room from a DVD that we rented from the front desk.
yeah,
And
wow.
I'm just like, it's weird that you guys are doing this. But it allowed me to catch up on a lot of these things that I missed. Plus, I was playing Castlevania Portrait of Ruin, released in 2007. So, like, it was just a lot of 2007 memories. I saw Cars for the first time.
Really, for the first time.
I had never seen Cars. You know what else I did on my vacation? I caught up. I have now seen the entire Pixar filmography.
And have you seen Cars 3, which just came out
I
this
saw
weekend?
Cars 3. It is 8 o'clock on Monday. I saw the 4:30 showing of Cars 3.
All right, well, we should get into some cars then, because like
Yeah, no,
I have
let's move away from all like the heavy drama and stuff that we were talking about before. But it's true. Let's be positive. Positivity will win the day. And let's talk about cars.
Yeah, man. Okay. So Secret Love of Mine, actually, the first Cars film. Like, I actually really enjoy that movie. And, I know where that comes from as somebody that grew up in a family that did road trips, and I really like cars. So that movie is like it's aimed right at like my I was gonna say aimed at my wheelhouse, which is a weird thought.
No, it's
No,
not
like
boats. It's cars. But
but yeah, so the first Cars film came out, as you were saying, 2000,
2006 it came out.
2006, and considered at the time to kind of be a misstep. And then Cars 2 is just blows it out of the water as considered possibly Pixar's only quote unquote failure, although there's something to be said about that. A film that still breaks the bank and also it becomes the greatest merchandise
Yeah, it's
seller
interesting
for
to say
the
that.
yeah.
I mean, like, yeah. I mean, the reason why I hadn't seen Cars until 2017 was because it felt kind of sellouty. It felt kind of like, all right, Pixar's done. I didn't really like The Incredibles. I'll say that. And I
Wow.
didn't really, and I couldn't bring myself to see Finding Nemo. Like I'm like, this does not interest me at all. Like this story.
So
And
you
now
just
that
don't like Pixar?
no.
Because you're talking about like core Pixar films
Well,
that you are just not even.
That's what I'm saying though. Is that I saw Toy Story, loved Toy Story, did
Mhm.
not see A Bug's Life because I'm like I'm not interested in this. The story does not interest
Well,
me.
right, and at the time you weren't going because it was a Pixar movie. You were
Right.
going because it's interesting or not.
It's
to you,
interesting
right?
or not. Like it's not like just because of the animation studio. Granted, though, I might just not like Pixar movies. Well-known fact: I hated Inside Out. We can get back to that. And then I saw Toy Story 2, loved Toy Story 2, and then I saw Monsters Incorporated 3 times in the theater. So like
Mhm.
Monsters Incorporated was the pinnacle of what Pixar could do for me.
Okay.
And I loved that. So then like I see Finding Nemo and I'm like I'm not really interested in this. And then I see Cars coming out, and I see Incredibles. Didn't see it in the theater, watched it at home. Really wasn't impressed. Like, I don't think I've ever watched The Incredibles again. And, like, that's saying something considering all of the other things that I talk about on this show alone, right? Clearly,
Right.
I'm into comics and superheroes, but something about The Incredibles just never clicked with me. And then Cars, right? They had a track record in my mind. In my 2006, I was 20.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was exactly 20. And I'm just like, no, you're not really worth my time. Sorry, I'm not going to go see this. I'm not interested in it. Like, Toy Story was fun. Maybe I've grown out of this Pixar stuff. And then a little man called Sejohn Sarowick dragged me to Ratatouille that same 2007 summer of Hairspray, Stardust, Return of the Silver Surfer, and Ocean's 13. First of all, Sejohn, you reignited my love of film in the summer of 2007, right? I'm just going to... It's all coming out tonight, right? You did. You reinvigorated my love of film in 2007 by dragging me to go see Fantastic Four 2, Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Because I was like, come on, man, Silver Surfer's in it. We have to at least see it for Silver
And
Surfer.
I'm like, no. And you're like, come on, it's $5. That is what got me there. It's Tuesday, so it's $5. Oh, okay, let's do it. But that I saw Ratatouille, and Ratatouille was another one where I'm like, oh, what is this going to be? And it just shined. It like just shined like a diamond. Hate myself. And then I saw Wall-E, and it shone even brighter. And then I missed Up because I wasn't around. I was like working on ships. That's when that started. Missed Toy Story 3 for the same reason. Came home, bought, watched them, loved them. And now I'd say that I'm part of the Pixar thing, even though like hated Brave, but I don't think I'm alone in that. Hated Inside Out. Know that I'm alone in that. Sorry. I'm not even really sorry about that. But I will say, I loved Cars 2, which I also watched this week.
Yep.
Because I wanted to get ready for Cars 3. And the first Cars, like I had been told, I told Jeff I had never seen him. He's like, really don't like the first one, love the second one. That's a Jeff Hibbert review right there. So I'm like, oh, okay, so there's something, right? Because usually he likes kids' movies. He gives them a little bit of a pass. Then I watched the first one, and I'm like, well, of course you don't like the first one, Jeffrey. You've never driven a car.
Yeah. So and that's the deal for me is I really don't think Cars 2 is really a Cars movie. You know what I mean? Like it's like the Cars... And this only comes to fruition now with Cars 3 being out. So you have Cars, which is this whole love letter to cars themselves and driving and that idea of Route 66, right? And the family cross country road trip.
Mother Road, which
But
is
also,
like the coolest dedication ever.
But then it's also held up against, yeah, that's true. And then it's held up against the NASCAR lifestyle of these cars are just machines that we should just be pushing further and further and further. And there's this message in Cars that's like, yeah, like this is totally something that cars are capable of, but let's not forget the other thing that they're capable of. And that's actually like bringing families together and actually giving you the ability to see the country and see the beautiful landscape and to see the world, what the world actually has to offer, right? And it's this idea that if you spend too much time thinking about the cars as a machine, like you're not getting the whole picture, right? And I think that's a beautiful message and a beautiful film to kind of wrap it up, right? And I love the characters, the story, everything about that movie.
That movie is great. It really is. But at the same time, I almost feel like Pixar knew that if it didn't hit, that was going to be it for them. It feels like a swan song, which is weird to say about their sixth movie, but it really does, especially when they end with the drive-through and they show Toy Car Story and A Bug's Life and Monster Trucks Incorporated.
And you have to remember that this is getting towards the end of the kind of guaranteed films. I'm not sure exactly where in the history this happens, but when Pixar first got bought and it became this animation house, and they had so many different ideas of films that they wanted to do, Toy Story being the most, the one that they had done the most work on.
They were ready for, yeah.
Right. Cars was also in that grouping. It was one of those. Is it Brad Bird or is it Lasseter that talks about how? Lasseter in his head he talks about how it's a movie he always wanted to make and he didn't think he'd get the opportunity to, and I think that it was only because it was getting towards the end of that collection of films that they had quote unquote planned that they were just like, all right, we're actually doing okay, we've got enough to at least make Cars, let's make this thing. After that, I don't think they knew quite where they were going to go. I think Wall-E might be the last one that was like a definitive idea for them, and they at the time actually weren't ready to make it at first because they were convinced it was too weird of an idea. They had to wait for a couple of other films to come through that they were thinking about, sequels that they weren't ready to make, but then, Toy Story 2, for instance, and stuff like that. But then, like, they they realized that they could make Wall-E, as weird as it was, because they had finally had the cachet. But I think that what
really,
you're noting,
I thank Ratatouille for that, because Ratatouille is also a pretty weird movie.
Well, right, it's one of those movies that was weird, but weird in the right way that a kids movie can be. And then they kind of pushed that to the point where they were like, all right,
we can follow Ratatouille up with Wall-E. Let's put it in the oven.
But I think you're totally picking up on that vibe in Cars, of like, this is kind of the last movie that this is the last of old Pixar. What, like, everything you see from there on out is definitely Pixar kind of like trying to figure out who they are as a company versus as artists, because the first handful of movies they get to make are the movies they always wanted to. After that, they have to start making the movies they need to in order to stay open, right? And that's when you start to see things like them kind of going back to the well to make some kind of lackluster sequels, like Cars 2, like Monsters University, or Monsters University,
which is unfortunate that it is a very lackluster sequel, because I love Monsters Incorporated so much.
I don't actually mind Monsters University. That's the other thing. Is like I need to be clear about my stance on Pixar, since you made yours extremely clear, laying out the history. I need, like, basically what it is we're talking about, like, winning bronze at the Olympics here. When I say that something is a lackluster sequel or something didn't work for me, at the end of the day, I still love all of these movies. I don't think there's a single Pixar movie I've seen that I didn't in some way appreciate for what it was and wanted to go back to. I love these movies, and I'm a total apologist for all of them. So, like, I know that you're not the only person that doesn't like Brave. I mean, my girlfriend doesn't like Brave.
No one likes Brave.
That's not true.
Inside Out is the one that people like and I hate.
I love Brave. And there's a lot of really good things.
You're an apologist. You just said that.
Yeah.
You don't get to then apologize for liking Brave after you said, I'm an apologist.
I'm not apologizing.
You're the only one who didn't like
Brave.
it. No, a lot of people didn't like Brave.
Yeah, but there's but one of the big things that we've got to thank Brave for being able to push some stuff through that allowed for things like Moana to eventually come around. You know what I mean?
No, definitely.
Brave was the one kicking the door down, and it just couldn't get it done. And you're not wrong, like, right? But because they started that, like, a lot of other things that came later really do have to look to Brave to thank for it. Because there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that happened with Brave that was really important. It was one of the first female directors, and then she infamously had it ripped out of her hands at the last second, and the movie got retooled completely. And, like, the Brother Bear stuff in it got, like, blown up in a way that wasn't supposed to be there to begin with. And there's, like, a whole bunch of stuff that's in that movie that is supposedly, as somebody that doesn't have a fucking clue really, but word of mouth.
But I've read it on the internet, so it must
right,
be
exactly.
true.
But word of mouth is that what happened with Brave was that it was a female director, and then Disney came in and was just like, no, you're not doing what we want with this, and they put in a male director, and then lo and behold, what you get is a movie that doesn't feel cohesive. So, like, you get a lot of that weird stuff, and then that kind of chatter in the background surely shapes Disney's decisions later on, when they're like, all right, let's make a movie, female director, female writer, whatever it is, and let's just not touch it. Because the last time we touched it, we got a ton of trouble. Right? So you get stuff like Frozen. You do end up getting stuff like Moana.
Yeah.
But what's interesting from that is that I'm talking about Disney animation studio movies that learned their lesson because Disney stepped in too much on something like Brave, and the same goes for Cars 2. Disney kind of put too much of their hands on it and didn't let Pixar do their thing. Lo and behold, Pixar gets the Cars franchise back, and the first thing that they do with it is Cars 3. And oh my God, man, like, Cars 3 is fantastic.
You saw Cars 3 already?
Oh yeah!
Oh, awesome! I'm surprised, but, like, you've been filleting Pixar for the last 25 minutes, and why should I be surprised that you've already seen Cars 3? Yeah. I'm a little surprised that you think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, like, I was about to say, I don't
apologist.
put it on the same level as Cars. I don't think that it is nearly as good as that. But I think in terms of Pixar taking back that story and doing what they wanted with it, to me, this is what Cars 2 would have been. Right? Like, this is Cars 2, like, for sure.
There was a moment in Cars 2 where Dale's like, oh, this would be a great time to call back. There's a moment in Cars 3 where Dale goes, this would be a great moment to call back to Cars 2. But Cars 2 doesn't exist anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, no, canonically, right, this does not feel like that movie ever happened.
Oh, yeah. It kind of just completely ignores Cars 2, right? And I think for the better, though.
Which
I really
is for
do.
the better. Like, because the one thing that I said when I saw like my big critique of Cars 2, and as someone who enjoyed Cars 2, but as a kids film, not as a piece of Pixar art, right?
Well, and
I can do that distinction.
yeah, and where
Is
Cars is the thing of the movie about cars, Cars 2 is a James Bond spoof. If you look at it that way, it's hilarious. Now, the fact that they're all cars makes it gets a little weird in that world.
well, you say it gets weird, but it's also kind of nice to see what people who aren't race cars do with their lives. Like
yeah.
it makes it oddly fleshes out the world of cars
Yeah,
in a
that's
way
true.
that
The
I
background
really
is
kind of needed. If I'm going to be 100% honest with you, like
Yeah.
I watched it and I'm like, okay, good. So other stuff is going on.
Imagine if it had been a Disney afternoon movie, like, one of their like straight to TV movies. Imagine if it had been one of those.
It's
Like I think
basically
that would
on
have
the
been
big screen. Yeah.
Yeah, that I think maybe the context that way it would have been much more well received than it was, because again, Cars 2 still, as much as they are critically panned, the biggest financial successes for Pixar.
Yeah,
Like they're what keep Pixar's doors open right now, because like every toy, every T-shirt, everything that gets sold from this. Yeah.
Thanks
Anyway,
be
sorry,
to
what you were
Larry the Cable Guy.
Mm-hmm.
But then, so my critique of 2 was, why wasn't Doc there? And it's because like they talk about like, oh, it's sad that he's gone, and like it's alluded to that he passed, and of course because Paul Newman passed away. But
Right.
like there was watching Cars 3, there was a moment where I'm like, I miss Paul Newman. Like this feels like a goodbye to Paul Newman. Like so after the fact, but still like, oh wow, like that really tugged at my heartstrings.
Mm-hmm.
Screw you, Cars 3. But there's also a lot in Cars 3 that doesn't work. It's one of those movies that like when it works, and that's when it feels like a definitive sequel to the first Cars movie.
Yeah.
But then a lot of the stuff it was unbalanced. My review of Cars 3, because I like to be clever, was that it's in need of an alignment.
Excellent. I was waiting for it, and I'm glad it came. That was very cathartic. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I like I've already said, like, I'm a total apologist for Pixar films, so like I have rose tinted glasses when I watch these things, and like I said, it's not top of the list for me, but man, there's so much stuff in Cars 3 that is harkening back to Cars, which I really loved, and also the idea of him trying to find his place as he gets older. I mean, that's the point that we're at in our lives, like, how many times a day I think about the fact that 300 years ago people our age were dead.
I want to say more than you should, Sejohn. Do
Yeah,
you
probably
need
more
to
than I
talk
should.
about it? Perhaps off microphone. No. I mean, I get where you're coming from. Yeah, like this is. You're right, and especially when you consider the fact that like Lightning McQueen in Cars 3, he's gonna be like 11 years old, right?
Yeah, at least.
And they're treating him like he's an old, infirmed man.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, oh,
Oh, you're going the other way with it. I thought you meant because he was getting old. Well, they are treating him that way. Yeah, you're right. He's only like 11 or 12 years old.
right,
but
because he's a rookie when he almost wins the Piston Cup, right?
But that's an important, yeah, right. But that's an important distinction. It's an important fact about cars, though, that we need to remember, is the fact that like cars are considered obsolete after 10 years, right? Like after
Exactly.
you look at a
That's,
car
like, a
that's 10
crazy
years
thing.
old, yeah, you're just like, oh, that piece of junk, and it's just like, no, cars that are 10 years old might still have something in them. Is a hell of a message.
I drove that Saturn that you were there when I got 100,000 miles in, Sejohn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I drove that Saturn with a cracked head gasket to Atlanta and back, just dumping oil into it every time I got gas.
Man.
There's no reason that car should have made that trick, that 32-hour round trip to Atlanta to go see Limousine, summer of 2009. But
Nice.
it did, and then it died.
I
Just driving on 95.
I've got a 1995 Toyota Tercel. That's what I drive around in, a little 2-door special edition
Oh, you got
that
the
I
two-door.
drive around
Nice.
in. It is getting close to 25 years old. This is like, what am I?
But it still runs, right? You still
Yeah,
have a good
yeah.
time with it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. No, that is, you're right. But like when you put it in terms of like 300 years ago, you're dead at 30, right? That's not when your life is starting.
Right, exactly. So
So
there's this.
so like him being 10 years old, like you really put it into that where it's like, yeah, in a car's lifetime, yeah, you're done. Like
Right.
You are an old man.
Well, you're hitting that point. You're hitting that point as a car. This is a weird
Oh
conversation,
my
man. I'm just
God,
gonna put
right?
that
I
out there.
love
You're
it.
hitting that point as a car where you're either going to become obsolete or a classic. That is the break, right? You either become this car that is so important to history that it sticks around because people keep working on them, keep them alive as long as possible. People like put them in garages and don't drive them because they are that important, or they're the cars that are like, this is nothing special, we're just going to drive this into the ground, right? And it's that same point in your life as a human where you're just like, all right, here's the point where I either become just an obsolete grunt until I die, or I do something that actually leaves my mark on this world, right? And that whole story behind it, and it's exactly the kind of story that was absent in Cars 2 that I was just so happy to see back, that I'm sure that's part of the reason why I couldn't see anything wrong with it. Not that I didn't see anything wrong with it, but I was happy to ignore the stuff that was wrong with Cars 3, because there is such a strong, great Pixar message and Pixar delivery system. That movie is just through and through what they do best, and seeing them do it on a movie that they never planned to make was just so much fun.
After
I just
this,
like seeing
I
a
don't
good
want to
Pixar movie,
I
man.
don't want to spoil Cars 3. It's only been out for what, 4 days,
A
maybe?
hot minute.
Like,
Right.
Like, so I don't want to spoil Cars 3, but after the show, I would like to address what was my biggest problem with you. And then, ladies and gentlemen, I promise we'll bring it to the mic eventually. But I would just like to bring up with him what really... It pulled me out of the film, and that was real disappointing.
Oh,
And
this won't be the last time that we talk about Pixar films.
Oh,
obviously.
good. No. Actually, well, CJ and I will talk about that after the show. But you know what Pixar is closely ingrained with? And as we take this drive down memory lane,
let's do this.
Disney.
What?
And another thing is coming back after many years away, and that's the Ducktales reboot. Now, we talked about this a long time ago. I want to say, like, was it episode 3, the new Disney? Was that? It's like the third episode, I think we talked about the new Disney.
Let's not put a number to it because I don't want to be wrong, but it was early.
It was one of our very first episodes.
Yeah.
And Sejohn, super excited about DuckTales. Devon, less than enthused.
Always.
But come on, man! Like this is something that I care about. I love DuckTales.
I know.
To quote this weekend, my sister's old roommate Joe just graduated from college. So his graduation party was there, and we're there. We're sharing a beer, and he's like, "You know what I like about you and your sister is you guys, you could just sing the entire Disney Afternoon soundtrack a cappella. Like if you had to, like you could do that." And I'm like, what a odd thing to just bring up. And he's like, "Oh no!" And then he like told me about this thing about he saw some comedian do a thing about the DuckTales theme song, and it just made him think about that. And Dale and I had just been like riffing on Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers or something. I don't remember. We were drinking. It was a graduation party. You drink. But so DuckTales is something that I care about, and I also I grew up on the comic, so I will say this. I like that it seems to be hewing more in line with the original Carl Banks Scrooge McDuck comic books.
Yep.
And I'm excited about that. I like that he's wearing red again instead of blue. I like that Donald is the primary caregiver to Huey, Dewey, and Louie. I like a lot of it. I'm going to watch it, right? I'm not going to not watch the reboot of DuckTales.
Yeah.
I will be the first person to admit that. That being said, they released the theme song, and fuck them.
Oh, why? I've got some thoughts on this too, but I feel like you need to get this out.
Lurks behind you. Danger lurks behind you. Instead of danger, watch behind you. Like, why does he gotta lurk behind me? Why is that the lyric that you change? And then, right? Like, I'm like, all right, well, that's not bad, right? Like, it's still kind of bumping, and I'm fine with it, whatever. But then the end of DuckTales, DuckTales, woo, do, tales of daring, do bad, and good luck tales, woo. There's just, the new one is just tales of daring, bad, and good luck. Not, like, it's just weird. Like, the way that it ends, I'm like, what the frig was that? Why did you change the song there? Also, I was upset that it was a lady singer. But that's just me. And not because I have any problem with ladies. I'm just like, oh, that hit the ear wrong. I wasn't expecting that. You have this cool cast. And they had the cast sing the original song. Do you remember that? That's how they
I
announced who
do.
was playing all the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Was this cool moment of all these people singing this iconic friggin' song that, like, a friend of mine, I can't remember who, told me is constantly playing on loop in his head every day.
Yeah.
It was
I
CJ. That's why he's laughing. But
I gotta say that when I listen to it, I have no feeling one way or the other about the song itself. I get to be entirely honest, it sounded like a very stock standard. Um, it didn't sound like they've been doing a really good job on Disney XD lately with these cartoon shows, specifically with things like getting really cool bands to do the intro music. Milo Murphy's Law.
Murphy's Law.
Weird Al does
are there new episodes of Milo Murphy's Law that I haven't seen?
I don't know. I don't know if you've seen all of the ones that are up yet, but they're phenomenal. And
That
Weird
show's
Al, who's the main character on the show, also provides the main theme song. But Star and the Forces of Evil has a really fantastic theme song that gets stuck in your head every minute, as well as some in-show music that is phenomenal. I have Space Unicorn stuck in my head, and it will never leave.
Well, all I'd like with Phineas
So
and Ferb,
Gravity
right?
Falls
Like the
also had really good
predecessor
one, right?
to
Phineas and Ferb as well,
Yeah.
to Milo Murphy. Yeah, so like
and
they've
then have
been doing
Bowling
some
for
really good job with
Soup,
that.
which
So
like,
yeah, I will say you're not wrong. There is a disappointing level to the fact that it doesn't sound like anywhere near as impressive as those. I thought what you were going to get more caught up on was some of the visual stuff. I'm glad to hear that you're actually liking some of the visual stuff.
the visuals didn't bother me at all. I actually
think
I was really impressed by the visuals
Yeah.
because it like evoked a lot of the visuals of the original song. Like you have the hockey playing robots.
The
Like
mummies
you
that
had
come
one
out
of
at
that,
a
and they have
point.
the mummy. The mummy
Yeah.
is the danger that's lurking behind them.
Yeah, man.
That they need to
Well,
watch out
I think
for.
so. In terms of the lyric changes, here's what I'll say about that. I do feel like the show is going to try and go a little bit darker and a little bit more. They're going to want a little bit more of an invested audience. The old show didn't shy away from 2 or 3 part stories. Like that happened all the time because that's part of the adventure show setup, right?
Oh yeah.
Is like tune in next week for the conclusion, right? Like that whole thing is part of the show. I think though this is going to really lean heavily into it. If only because, again, Disney XD, looking at that production house and what they've been doing, things like Star, things like Gravity Falls, things like even Milo Murphy, there's things going on in the background that end up playing out over 5, 6 episodes, if not entire series. There's a lot in Gravity Falls is the perfect example of this. There's things that you watch in the first 3 or 4 episodes that you laugh off as just dumb jokes that end up becoming like phenomenally important by the time that show is over, like 2 years later, 2 or 3 years later. So like, I think that's what you're going to see a lot more of with this one too. So I think the lyric changes are actually like indicators for me of them actually putting some thought into what they're going to be doing story wise with these guys, and that's actually. I'm super excited about that. I'm also not nearly as married to the Disney afternoon aesthetic as you are, because as much as I grew up with that in my life, it was at just enough of an age difference for me where that stuff is in my head, but not something in my heart. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
wow, that's good. And that's weird because home is where the heart is. Tailspin. No, like we had an old Ford Escort that my mother bought in 1990, and it had the Disney Afternoon tape stuck in it from the day that we bought the Disney Afternoon tape.
Nice.
Like, we visited her friend from high school, Mary. She's like, oh, have you seen this? And played the Disney Afternoon tape for her. On the way home, we stopped at a Kmart and bought it. Remember Kmart? It
Yeah.
wasn't even on Blue Light Special, but we bought it.
Ooh.
And we shoved it into the tape deck, and it never came out again.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, that's the song of my childhood. All those drives with my mother. Like, if we were listening to a tape, we were listening to Disney Afternoon. So,
Yeah.
like, they're all in there. But it's just like, part of it feels like I want it to be what you said. I want it to be a darker aesthetic, and I want that. Honestly, this new DuckTales is perfect for me if it seamlessly blends DuckTales and Quack Pack into a brand new package. Because I friggin' loved Quack Pack.
Man,
And
Quack
Quack
Pack
Pack-
was an interesting show at the time because that was their afternoon one, right? When they had that.
I watched it in the morning too. Like, I remember it would be on before I
But-
went to school. I don't think I've
Yeah.
ever seen a full episode of Quack Pack.
But Disney had like that weird, like cool afternoon show that was meant for like teens right when they were getting home from like middle school.
Right.
Like that, and that was what
Snookums
they
and Meat
aimed.
Was there? Like,
Yeah.
Snookums
And I'm pretty
Meat.
sure that Quack Pack was added in that because that was when the boys were a little bit older, right? And they were back with Living with Donald, and they were a little bit more like darker. I mean,
It's not also that they were darker; it's that they were distinct personalities.
yeah.
Like,
They were, they were doing afternoon special type things like, oh, bullying and things like that are getting addressed in this episode. That sort of stuff.
they also got superpowers, which I really liked. Like, there's that weird episode where they get superpowers because of. It's also great because like Ludwig von Drake is there. Not Ludwig von Drake. No, Ludwig von Drake is his name, right?
Yeah, the professor,
the sing-along
right?
song guy.
Yeah, the
Red,
sing along
yellow,
guy.
green, red, blue, 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 red, purple, green, yellow, orange, red. Blend them all in water, you get sherry, chartreuse, and aqua, mauve, beige, and aquamarine, and every color in between. Oh God,
Amazing.
where I don't see like why is that song in my head? Love Ludwig. Love
well,
Ludwig.
and
but
and they've also the Disney the Mickey Mouse cartoon show, the new Mickey Mouse cartoon show that's been out for the last few years. They did a fantastic Christmas special a couple years back where Donald was the main character in it, and it's all about Donald wanting to celebrate Christmas so he doesn't fly south, and he loses his mind because he doesn't fly south. And they have all of the ducks. Ludwig is there, the boys are there, Uncle Scrooge is there, Launchpad, like everybody is in that episode because they all go south with Daisy and they leave Donald behind, and then they keep going back between the ducks like celebrating Christmas down in the south and Donald trying to celebrate it with his friends up north. And it's a really, really good Christmas special. But to me, like Disney has this like they have this whole backlog of like these characters to dig into. I'm excited that they're doing that as well. Gizmo Duck. I have yet to see anything solid about Gizmo Duck yet, but man, I am so excited to see some new Gizmo Duck.
Can I tell you what I love about Gizmo Duck? What I don't love about Gizmo Duck, I'll do it this way. I'll do a negative compliment sandwich. I don't love that Lin-Manuel Miranda is playing Fenton Crackshell. Don't like that. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Feels like stunt casting. I do love that his neck is covered when he's Gizmo Duck.
Yes.
Like, it's like, oh, that makes sense, right? Because it's weird that his neck was exposed.
It's like the one thing that's exposed, which is, guess what one of the most dangerous parts on a duck is, How is ducks very often killed? Oh, their necks get broken.
If I ever had to fight Gizmo Duck, and I swear to God, I hope I never have to, I'm going for his neck. That's what I'm aiming for. Because that's his weak point. And is never addressed in the original DuckTales. It's never addressed in the crossover with Darkwing Duck. But it's finally being addressed in the DuckTales reboot.
And I will say,
I don't like that Fenton is not, to finish my negative compliment sandwich.
Oh, right.
I don't like that Fenton is Gyro Gearloose's lab assistant. I kind of liked him being the unassuming accountant who became a superhero.
Yeah, but I think that giving him a little bit more of a sciencey background will allow them to do some really cool stories that might allow them to dip really deep into some of the Darkwing stuff and actually pull some characters out that way.
But I don't think it's going to happen. I feel there's that whole thing where the creator said they exist in different universes, which is complete and utter bullshit if you watched the two shows. There was also Disney Afternoon, what was it called? Disney Afternoon Magazine? Was that the magazine? Disney Adventures. Do you remember Disney Adventure Magazine?
Yep.
Loved it. They did a 5-part series about this red gem that had an evil sorcerer's soul attached to it. And it started in Tailspin because they found it. And then it went through Chippendale, Goof Troop, DuckTales, finally culminating in Darkwing Duck.
Well, and I was going to say the comics did that all the time, too. Like
they crossed over.
Yeah.
Like that right there said that we
at
all
least
Darkwing,
at least Darkwing Duck and DuckTales, if not all of them, constantly.
But I feel like the creator of Darkwing Duck specifically said last year, these do not exist in the same universe because he does not want any elements of Darkwing Duck bleeding into the reboot. And he has that. Like, that's creator rights, right?
Yeah. We'll see how he feels about that too as things start to go with this show.
That's
because
very true.
That sort of stuff
mean,
has
I don't want to. You don't want to shut the door completely, but I feel like because thinking about it, like that's the reason why if I were a creator and knowing how creator rights work.
Yep. And Benedict Cumberbatch isn't Khan either, but then that all.
Yeah. Right. Who else is he gonna be? Was he gonna be the Tranya guy?
I'm just I will hold my breath because I mean this happens all the time. When Arrow first started, they were constantly talking about how it doesn't exist in a universe where Superman could possibly be real, and now that's 5 years in, and now that's not the case anymore. So like there's
no, I mean, and you're right. There's always ways to change it, but it's just as much as I would love love for Darkwing Duck to happen. Even just as like a little like aside, like Launchpad finally gets fired, so he goes and works for Drake Mallard.
Maybe they'll do something silly like Darkwing will be a comic in this universe, and maybe they'll be able to do something weird that way.
Oh, that'd be fine with that. Gyro Gearloose invents a thing that allows him to go into fictional universes.
Right. Yeah.
And Darkwing wants. Oh man, not Darkwing. And Scrooge wants to take something from the Darkwing Duck comics and add it to his vault, and then they fight. That's even cooler.
Yeah. See, there's always ways that this stuff can pop up.
Why don't we
so
work
I'm super
for
excited.
Disney? How do we work for Disney?
We
How
don't
do
work
make
for
that
Disney
happen?
yet. Yeah, we can get there. And the only thing I want to address about your critique of Lin-Manuel, just because you want to talk about stunt casting. You're talking about stunt casting in a show in which David Tennant has been cast as Scrooge. Bobby Moynihan is in there. David Pudi, Ben Schwartz.
Danny Pudi. Let's get
Danny
his name
Pudi.
right.
Oh man, but I mean like stunt cast. The whole show is stunt casting at this point.
That's
so
true.
I mean, you're not wrong, but also the whole show is so like. Anyway, but yeah,
All right,
I'm super excited about some DuckTales.
There's one last thing that I wanted to address that I liked. You think that Mrs. Beakley is going to have a more hands-on role in the reboot based upon the visuals?
Yeah,
I think she looks like Eleanor Roosevelt from Clone High. I brought it all back together, Siege. Just see how I brought it all back together?
Well, and I want to point out that doesn't necessarily mean that she's not going to be a badass. Because if there's one thing everybody knows about Eleanor Roosevelt is that
I think she's going to be like. I feel like it's almost going to be a little distracting the first time she's a badass because they're taking the Beakley switch and just going the complete other direction.
Well, and I think the joke is going to be that it's going to be when the boys are in danger, right? Like she's going to be the mother lifting up a car type scenario, right? And that's not to say that she didn't. I don't want.
No, she was the mother. That's what she was before. She always was. Like, in the face of danger, Beakley would friggin' show up to play.
Like, put a quote in my mouth that I definitely said, but I want to put some context to it. Like, I understand that Mrs. Beakley was always that. Like, she was always that one that could come in at the moment. It's just that she was so unassuming that when it happened, it was ridiculous. Now they're making it in an attempt to, I'm sure, ground the whole universe in any way that they can, quote unquote, ground the universe. Like, they're positioning her in a way where that's not going to be surprising when it happens.
Exactly.
It'll be cool.
Yeah, and I'm like I said, I'm looking forward to it. But like, it was distracting that first time, and all I could think of was the Eleanor Roosevelt gym teacher from Clone High.
Yeah, man. I'm excited all around for this thing though.
Again, I'm gonna watch it. How can I not watch it? But I was those were two lyrical changes that like I ran to my iPhone where I now have the Disney Afternoon soundtrack. And I had to listen to the DuckTales original to be like, I'm not crazy, right? It's not always been Lurk, right? Have I been mishearing it my entire life? No, it's watch out. Now, and here's the reason, right? Like, so DuckTales, like, God, I'm telling all the stories. I had a VCR in my room when I was younger, right? Like 8 years old, I had a VCR. And I owned one DuckTales tape. And that was what I fell asleep to every night. And it was Acres Away. It had the episode where Donald Duck is mistaken for the reincarnation of the Egyptian pharaoh.
Right, excellent.
As the garbled one. Brilliant. Like, still brilliant. I could do that whole episode right now because I just watched it so many times. And then the other one was the one with the Phantom Blight and the stealth airplane. So they were like Donald Duck ones. So that's why I like when Donald Duck is involved in DuckTales. So I'm super excited for that very reason, because two of my favorite episodes of DuckTales are that. But also, you've known me a long time, Sejohn, right? We're going on at least 10 years, right?
Yeah, I'm just curious where this is going. Yeah.
I have a bit of a problem with authority, right? And surprise, surprise, spoilers, that didn't start when we met. Going back to 8-year-old Devin Decker, he too had a problem with authority. And the principal's name was Mr. Vatalis, which just sounds like an intergalactic supervillain, even as I say it today, right? And there were times where I didn't want to go to school. And most kids, when they're 8 years old, don't want to go to school because, like, a kid is bullying them, or this or that or that, right? Like, it's kid problems that keep you from going to school. My problem was literally with my principal. I don't want to go to school because I don't want to see Mr. Vatalis. And I would, not be able to go to sleep at night because of that. And the way that my mother got me over it, holy shit! I'm so sorry that like I'm going down this deep end, but like it just triggered in my mind. Was one night when I couldn't sleep, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to sleep because if I go to sleep, I'll be rested and I'll have to go to school. I'm gonna stay up all night, so I'm sick tomorrow. I'm not gonna do it. She started singing the DuckTales theme song, and when it came to danger, watch behind you, instead of there's a stranger out to find you, she said there's a Vadalus out to find you. and, and then I would watch that tape of DuckTales. Sorry, I'm like cracking up here. I'm sorry. And the theme song played before both episodes, and I would say that, and that as an 8-year-old gave me the strength to like go to school and deal with that guy who was my bully. My bully was my principal in 2nd grade.
Well, and that's the beauty of what this stuff always does, right? And people always wonder why it is that we get into this stuff as deep as we do, right? And it's things like this. You're not the only person out there with a story like this, and you won't be the last. This new DuckTales is going to do this for somebody. It's going to be this cool thing that they get into, and it's going to be their escape. It's going to be their inspiration to do something that they're not getting from a place that they should. An adult in your life that should be inspiring to you is instead standing in your way. You're gonna find that somewhere else then, and that's what is so exciting about a show like this coming back and being reinvigorated in this way. Because I don't have kids, but when I do, I hope to God that there's a cool thing that I can show them from my past that inspired me, that inspires them, and I hope there's a new thing that inspires them that they can introduce me to. One of the best things about this too is going to be telling my parents about this stuff, because they used to laugh all the time as I was watching DuckTales and Tailspin and Goof Troop. They brought me to one of the best things I ever did when I went to Disney is they brought me to one of those, shitty Disney stage shows that they do. And it was the afternoon pack stuff where like That's Goofy got stuck in his garage and Darkwing had to come and save him and Chip and Dale showed up. Right. And they went to that with me. And because of that, actually learned a lot about Tailspin and stuff. And they were like, oh, we should watch these with you sometime. And so I'm excited that this thing is coming back because of exactly what you're talking about, man, is the way that it can affect us and touches on this emotional level in such a goofy but necessary way, I'm super excited now.
Yeah, no, it really just hit me. But I think that memory and that strength I used to draw from that lyric, hearing it changed, that's why it affected me as negatively as it did.
Well, and the important thing that we always have to remind ourselves in these types of situations is that the new stuff doesn't negate the old stuff. It's that same argument when people don't like a sequel to a movie and they feel like it ruins the franchise, and it's like, no, you've still got that original thing, and don't forget that. Yeah,
it doesn't erase. I mean, the original DuckTales will still be out there. You can still get it on DVD.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I didn't expect that one to come up. Siege, thanks for listening. You're a good friend.
Yeah,
and you're right. If there's some kid out there who has their own Vadalus and the danger lurks behind you, there's a Vadalus out to find you. I mean, if that gives you that strength to know that it lurks behind you, but what you do, you just grab onto some DuckTales. Woo!
Woohoo! That's the new hashtag for the show for a while. Hashtag woohoo.
Oh, that's
a term of empowerment, man.
That is totally a term of empowerment. See, Jim, we now stand at a crossroads. I feel like we've said everything that we can. So we could do our outros right now, or we could try to do an a cappella version of the original DuckTales theme song.
Oh man!
So I'm going to give it to you to choose.
Well, obviously we have to try and do some DuckTales, but you're going to have to lead on this.
Oh, that's completely fine because you weren't under Chinese torture with the CD. I understand.
Oh man, I want to make sure that I'm getting the right ones here. So I've got
the lyrics up. You can get the lyrics up. That's fine.
I've got lurks behind you here.
Oh, there's a stranger. Watch behind you.
All right, I'll remember that.
You got to watch behind you, and it's daring, do bad, and good luck tales.
Do bad. Tales of daring, do bad, and good luck tales is what the new one is, by the way. But it's let's do it.
There's no do in the new one. The new one is Tales of Daring, Bad, and Good Luck Tales.
Okay.
So it's daring, comma, bad, comma, and good. Like, I understand where they're coming from. I'm not crazy, but it just hits the ear differently. All right, so you ready?
Yeah, I think so.
Boom, bet, boom, bet, boom, bet, do, but do. Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Race cars, lasers, airplanes. It's a duck blur. Might solve a mystery or rewrite history. Ducktales, woo! Every day they're out there making Ducktales.
Woohoo!
Danger, watch behind you. There's a stranger out to find you. What to do? Just grab onto some Ducktales. Woo! Every day they're out there making Ducktales. Woo! Tales of daring, do bad, and good luck tales. Woo! Not ponytails or cottontails, no Ducktales. Woo! Damn! That was terrible. Because we're not in the same space. But it was fun, Siege, and I thank you for doing that with me.
I'm excited. I thought that was beautiful.
That was beautiful. We had, you know what that was? That was two guys who love DuckTales sharing and showing their love of DuckTales.
Hashtag woohoo.
Hashtag woohoo. Until next time, I am Devin Decker. You can find me on Twitter at Devin D. Decker.
And you can find me on Twitter at Siege versus the World. Nope, Siege versus the World. I always want to say my full name, and that's not it. But you got it.
Yes. And he's Siege in Sarawik. So thanks for coming down this memory road with us. William, take us away.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devin Decker and Siege in Sarawik. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.